Hi, my name is Tuesday with Against Psychiatry and www.againstpsychiatry.com. This is part 2 of a 2-part story. If you haven't heard the first part, first please go listen to part 1. I returned to SF and got off the streets, but then I ended up homeless again. Luckily, I got approved to get into several housing programs, but my case manager sabotaged this opportunity by telling them not to admit me unless I was in treatment, which would have meant going back on psych meds. I contacted the homeless outreach team because I didn't want to waste time being homeless, and I had been told that they would be able to get me housing and would not force medication on me. I was told that you had to be labeled as dual diagnosis, meaning mentally ill and also a substance abuser. I knew that I fit this criteria, but I had also been told that they didn't press medication on people. I thought the homeless outreach team would be my best option for this reason. I didn't want to be forced to take psych meds, and the youth shelter wouldn't take me unless I entered treatment, meaning I would have to be back on psych meds. The homeless outreach team offered me housing in a dangerous area of town and told me that if I didn't accept this housing, there would be no other options. Later, when it was too late, I found out that this wasn't true. At some point, my counselor started suggesting that I go on Abilify. Now, although I had a regular job as a caregiver at the time that I entered housing, she insisted that if I was refusing to take the meds, that I wasn't making any real progress. I was very happy and doing well, and she insisted that this meant I was manic. Well, after about 6 months, the disabled guy I had been caretaking started smoking crack and flipping out, so I had to quit my job for my own peace of mind. Also, around this time, the cops started cracking down in the Tenderloin, and so the crack dealers started moving into the area that I was living. It got to the point where it was dangerous for me to come and go to my place because that was their territory. About half the time I didn't go home because it would get so late that I knew that it would cause trouble if I walked down the street to my place. One of the big crack dealers got obsessed with me and was trying to become my pimp. He would come into my building to look for me, and the people who worked at the front desk would let him in because they were all strung out on rock too. I told my counselor that I was not safe there and needed to be moved, and she did nothing to verify what was going on. I told her that she didn't even have to believe me, but that she could see by herself that if she showed up at my building at 3 o'clock in the morning and offered the front desk people a few dollars to be let into my room, that they would do it. I said she didn't have to believe me. She could just try this just to keep an open mind. I just wanted her to trust me, but instead she laughed at me. She thought I was joking. My counselor Brenda told me, "How do I know that if I put you in housing someplace else, you won't just have these same problems? How do I know that you just aren't bringing these problems on yourself? It would make me look bad if I gave you another chance, unless if you take some steps to show me that you're serious about this program, and that first step would be to get on medication." I told her that I'd think about it, and at this point, honestly, I was considering just getting the prescription but not taking the meds. I thought, if I have to lie to be safe, then that's what I'll do. She said that Abilify was a new medication with no side effects, and that her other clients were taking it, and that they were all showing a marked improvement. She said there was a doctor who worked with the homeless outreach team who would prescribe it to me right away. So she set up an appointment with me to meet again a week later. Unfortunately, a couple of days later, I was walking with a friend of mine, and this crack dealer who had been trying to pimp me out attacked her. He was trying to steal her money. He didn't need her money, but he's one of those people who just gets off on hurting people. When she told him off, he started choking her. Her face was turning blue. I tried to get his hands off her neck, but I couldn't. He was too strong. When that didn't work, I grabbed the scissors out of my bag and stabbed him several times. He let go of my friend. I saw that she was alive, and I ran off because I didn't want to get killed. A few days later, I got jumped for the first time from this crack dealer's people. They dragged me out of the Carl's Jr. and kidnapped and raped me. I missed my appointment with my counselor. I called her later to ask for help and tell her what was up. I told my counselor all of this, and she didn't believe a word I said. I ended up running out of her office because I couldn't deal with being condescended after all I'd gone through. The second time I got jumped, I was dragged to the back of the Asian Art Museum and badly beaten. They were trying to find out where I kept my money. I managed to get away. Right after that, I had another appointment with my counselor, and I still had bruises and cuts on my face. I begged her to make me a doctor's appointment to document my injuries. I asked her to contact the Asian Art Museum to try and get a copy of their security tapes. I wanted to be able to press charges against the people who had done this to me. I begged her for help, but she didn't listen. She just ignored what I was saying and insisted that I needed to get on medication. At this point, I realized I was no longer safe in my neighborhood. I began sleeping in a tent in an alleyway in another part of town. I called her up to see if there was anything I could do to salvage my housing and transfer me to another location. She told me she would see what she could do, to call her in about a week. I called her back in a week, and she said that she needed some more time and to call her back in another week. When I called her back that time, she asked me if I was done having my fun and ready to go back to my roommate. I have been homeless since then, and in the droppings I have basically decided that I must not really want housing because I don't want to take psych meds. I have said things about how I feel safer living on the streets than in that program, and that I enjoy spending time with my homeless friends. But that doesn't mean I enjoy being homeless. Even in the concentration camps, people did their best to cheer each other up. Sometimes they even made gardens. This is the end of the second part of my two-part story. For more information, please go to www.againstpsychiatry.com.